This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Well, despite resigning, Tasmania's Justine Kay says she's not done yet. Her resignation will send Northwest residents back to the polls for a Braddon by-election, and Ms Kay is eager to win back her seat.
Making her farewell speech to the House of Reps.
While I don't have allegiance to the United Kingdom, that perhaps I have an allegiance to my family. Well, if they are my flaws, then so be it.
Resigning but not conceding her political career is over.
I am not done working and fighting on behalf of those who sent me here. Yeah. I will nominate for pre-selection to contest the election in the seat of Braddon. The people in my community deserve a representative that cares about them, respects them and listens to them.
Ms Kay ousted Brett Whiteley at the 2016 federal election. While she's a 7th generation Tasmanian and a town in the Huon Valley bears her mother's name, her British citizenship wasn't officially renounced until a week after Tasmanians went to the polls, making her a dual citizen.
She had every right to remain as a member of the Parliament. She had done everything that was within her power to renounce her citizenship.
I do think that it was regrettable that some members would fight this out, knowing that inevitably it might lead to a situation such as this.
The fight now to play out back at the ballot box.
The only candidate that will be standing for the Labor Party is Justine Kay. She's been an outstanding member for the people of Braddon.
The Liberals' Brett Whiteley is yet to confirm whether he'll nominate again, but the party believes it's in a good position to win.
Well, I think the state election indicates that nearly 60% of people in Braddon voted Liberal at the last state election.
Jackie Lambie has ruled out running. She'll instead focus on contesting the next Senate election. It's unclear exactly when the by-election will be, but one certainty is it's back to campaign mode. Monica Dadson, Southern Cross News.
170,000 Tasmanians will benefit from the federal government's tax relief for low and medium income earners. But the social services sector says it will do little to convince taxpayers, demanding improved essential services.
Far from the performance in Canberra, the Premier was today singing the praises of last night's federal budget. The bulk of Tasmania's workforce is set to benefit from low and medium income tax cuts.
170,000 Tasmanians will benefit from tax relief, so that will be a material difference to Tasmanians' household budgets.
Those seeking work were given little attention, with no boost to the New Start allowance, tax breaks described as a pre-election vote grab at the expense of essential services.
People pay tax, they don't expect to get it back from the government after they've paid it. They want it to be invested in the well-being of our community, and we haven't seen that happen.
An additional $190 million will flow through to the state purse in GST receipts. Money Labor wants to see break the 2% public sector wage cap.
We've got hard-working public servants effectively taking a pay cut while their cost of living is going through the roof.
We will be responsible, we will be sensible, and what we won't do is what the other side would want us to do, is to blow it and not put it anyway for a rainy day.
A rainy day possibly on the horizon, with no security for the GST share.
Until we have some security and surety ongoing about the GST receipts that Tasmania will receive, our budget position in the state is in a very difficult position.
Older Tasmanians will benefit from new home aged care packages, as little was left for the generation struggling to enter the housing market, adding to the rental strain.
The supply need is becoming critical. We are really disappointed that one of the most easy ways that a federal government could have helped our state right now was to forgive the housing debt.
Launceston's City Deal moves forward with Tamar River funding as Hobart's STEM project is left waiting. $1 billion infrastructure spend has been locked in after years of budget neglect.
We'd been very critical for the last few budgets that Tasmania had missed out with infrastructure spending. It's great to see us back on the list.
Possibly bridging the gap pre-polling day for a state that sent a clear message last election. Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
Emergency services had to free a person from a crash near the Tasman Peninsula. Crews were called to the single vehicle collision just before 3 o'clock this afternoon. Police blocked Fulham Road at Connolly's Marsh as the scene was cleared. One person was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Police have seized 2 motorbikes after a speeding incident on the Brooker Highway last night. Officers say they detected a 17-year-old and a 27-year-old rider going 160 kilometres an hour near Grantham. The sign-posted limit is 100, but they were on provisional and learner licences that restrict them to 80 k's.
Doing last night not only put themselves at serious risk, but it put any other road user that was anywhere near them at serious risk as well.
So far this year, 6 motorbike riders have been killed in crashes on Tasmanian roads. Airline passengers are being assured there will be minimal disruption to flights in and out of Launceston while remediation work takes place at its airport. The multi-million-dollar investment is upgrading parts of the pavement for the first time in 50 years.
This part of the apron at Launceston Airport has supported aircraft since the 1960s. Now, the old surface is being ripped up and replaced with thicker concrete so it lasts longer into the future.
We've been working with the airlines in terms of scheduling movements, and we've picked a very quiet time of year.
The apron and taxiway will remain a construction zone for the next 6 to 8 weeks. It will reduce the number of parking bays available to airlines, but management says plans are in place to minimise disruptions.
We have our aircraft backtracking on the runway as a result of the closure of 2 of the taxiways. This really represents the airport maintaining and developing that asset for Launceston.
Passenger numbers at the airport skyrocketed following the arrival of low-cost carriers in the early 2000s. Airport management says those numbers have now flattened out, but surging tourism could see activity speed up once again.
Not the growth that we would have liked. However, in future years we're hoping that the growth will improve.
Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
Anglican congregations across the state are reeling from the decision to sell off their churches to fund a redress scheme for victims of child sexual abuse. The community of Kempton is questioning why it has to pay for the sins of others.
These brothers coming to terms with what could be a heartbreaking reality. Their beloved church, St Mary's, one of the 108 properties on the preliminary list to be sold to fund compensation for victims of child sexual abuse.
I buried my wife here in Kempton only 20 months ago, and to somebody to say that it's going to be sold off is completely unacceptable.
We have sanctity within the walls of the church. Now that has been put all under question.
Their family history going as far back as the First Fleet.
But the spirit of the town is in this building and these surrounds, and it's been here since 1839.
Church leaders are assuring congregations across the state that they can apply for exemption from sale.
And we've invited the general public to make those kinds of submissions to us as well. They need to be reasoned arguments so that we can deal with them in a rational kind of way.
But this community remains unimpressed, questioning why its members may have to suffer for others' past sins.
What it amounts to is victims paying their own compensation, because you're taking away from the victims an asset that they have, that they've grown up with, that they rely on.
We not only share the collective good parts of our heritage, we share the collective bad parts of our heritage. It is right for us to stand with survivors of sexual abuse.
John, the founder of suicide prevention organisation Rural Alive and Well, says closing it could leave the wider community struggling.
It's another assault on rural people who are less advantaged, less opportunities, and this is the time we should be adding to that, not taking away.
Isolation is a really important factor. It's one of the factors we're taking into consideration.
The diocese will release its final list in December. Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
One of Tasmania's premier wine regions is being put on the map with a new hook for tourists. The Richmond Wine Wall has been set up to showcase the Coal River Valley and give tourists a taste of the wineries in the region.
Putting the Coal River Valley on the map.
Well done, everyone.
The Richmond Wine Wall unveiled today to showcase local wineries.
Tourists visiting the Richmond township were coming here and potentially not noticing that they were in one of the world's great wine regions.
It highlights the 32 vineyards and 16 cellar doors in the region and is hoped to hook visitors passing through Richmond.
Richmond, as I understand it, is already attracting a quarter of the visitors that come to Tasmania. We've got, I guess, a lot of people that are coming for Richmond as a town, and we've got a whole lot of people that are coming for the wine experience that's here.
We started off as a hobby vineyard, as a lot of the others have as well. But because of the terroir of the valley, the wines are just fabulous and, of course, world class.
But in becoming a destination, the region also faces challenges. Roadworks are underway as infrastructure comes under pressure from increasing visitation.
There are some challenges, infrastructure challenges that every tourist area is facing throughout the world, and Richmond is not immune to that.
Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
A Tasmanian lady has celebrated a very special milestone. Vera Walker turning 100 years old today, surrounded by family and friends. The former nurse worked around the country and overseas, but she has always called the Meander Valley home.
Back to the farm at Westbury and all my friends. I've been rather spoiled.
The cousin of legendary cricketer Jack Badcock, Ms Walker says sport was a big part of her life growing up.
Long summer days, and there was plenty of space under the trees to play. It was the Great Depression, you see, and I think we were fortunate to be living in the country.
She says having good friends is the key to a long life. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The Australian share market has closed slightly higher as strong gains in oil stocks following the US exit from the Iran nuclear deal helped offset a heavy decline in Commonwealth Bank shares. The ASX 200 index has risen by 16.1 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 74.31 US cents and 106.74 New Zealand cents.
AFL CEO Gillon McLachlan has committed to visiting the northwest coast at the end of the month after a steering committee meeting in Melbourne today. While Tasmanian State League clubs will find out in the coming weeks whether the proposal they put forward to the AFL will be implemented into the committee's future model for football in the state. It includes the TSL remaining in its current form, with a team on the northwest coast or an extra one in Launceston to be eventually added into the competition. The 7 clubs have also thrown their support behind the state having its own separately funded VFL side, the Mariners entering the TAC Cup, and further funding for talent pathways. Kingborough coach Trent Bormella will remain at the club until at least the end of 2020, with the Tigers today confirming that they've extended his contract for a further 2 seasons. A former Hobart City assistant coach under Kane Richter, Bormella made the switch to Kingborough at the end of the 2017 season. The Tigers are currently sitting at 1 win and 4 losses under his leadership. Tasmania's future netball stars have been given an insight into what it's like at the highest level by someone who knows exactly what it takes to get there, with Collingwood Magpies and Australian Diamond star Maddie Robinson back in the state to inspire the next generation. With the sport on the rise in Tasmania, the Magpies skipper was given a rock star reception at Hobart St Mary's College.
Getting out into the schools, you know, grassroots where it really begins, and just, having a chat, answering some questions, showing them some medals and things like that. It's been really enjoyable.
As the partnership between Tasmania and the Magpies continues to grow, it's hoped the number of local talent on the list follows suit in the coming years. Robinson is set for several more visits to the state throughout the season as her Magpies look to turn things around following 2 losses in the opening 2 rounds of the Super Netball League.
Round 1 we were so close and didn't quite get over there, and on the weekend we got showed up by a better team. So there's been some really good patches of netball, but it's just inconsistent.
The Pies play their first match in the state at the Silverdome on June 3. Meantime, the Tornadoes are keen to build on their 3-point win over Geelong last weekend, which was just their second of the season.
I know my team, we have adversity. We can fight through adversity, and we have the resilience. And I tell them it's about the measure of how we react to our adversity, and we reacted very well and bounced back and were able to get the victory.
The side take on the Frankston Blues at home this Friday night, followed by the Bandits in Albury the next day. And those looking to run a marathon have 4 months to get prepared, with the Launceston Marathon announcing it will return in 2018. Entries open tonight for the event, which will be held on the 23rd of September. A new 5-kilometre option will also feature on the day. 300 people entered the inaugural event last year.
Well, for those that have been rain dancing lately, your prayers have been answered. Bit of rain right across the state today. Took a while to get to the east. 19 for Hobart, 15 for Launceston and Devonport, 16 the top today in Burnie. Friendly Beach is the high with 21. As we mentioned, the rain avoided the east for most of the day, but there is a fair bit on the way for the east later. Mount Reid topped the rainfall with 18 millimetres. Grove 18 degrees. Flinders Island, St Helens and Ouse 17. King Island and Low Head 16 today. Smithton 15. Strawn 14. Lyawini 2 to 9. And that wasn't the time. Here's the cloud band moving across the state, lingering over the west and north, but gradually reaching all areas by later this afternoon. Now, Western Victoria also found that same cloud band, while mid to low cloud sits along the coast of WA and South Australia. Western New South Wales had some high cloud above, and an isolated patch of cumulus cloud developed over the top end. Tomorrow, a complex low pressure zone with several centres will move slowly over Tasmania. A cold front off New South Wales and a trough lies further north. A ridge of high pressure moves over the Bight. Northwest to southwest winds overnight, reaching 30 knots over the northwest. They will turn southeasterly during tomorrow and reach 25 to 35 knots over most waters and to 40 knots over the lower east, south and west. Swells building to 6 metres. A couple of warnings for you. A gale warning from Wineglass Bay to Sandy Cape, a strong wind warning for remaining waters apart from the central north. We have a flood watch that's current for the eastern half of the state with that rain to come, and a warning to sheep graziers for quite a few districts as well. Into tomorrow, rain and possible heavy falls for Hobart, 12 for Cygnet and 12 for New Norfolk with that same forecast. Launceston, rain and 14 degrees, showers for Devonport, 14 the top and 12 for Campbell Town. For Burnie, showery day, 14, 13 the top for Strawn, shower or two for Smithton, 14 degrees. And for St Helens, rain and becoming windy, 13 the top, 13 also for Swansea, becoming windy 2 for Fingal, bit of wet weather and 12 degrees. To Friday, some heavy falls over the east and south, along with a possible thunderstorm with showers elsewhere. Mainly fine over the north on Saturday, but a shower or two for the rest of the state. A morning shower over the south and east on Sunday, fine conditions developing elsewhere. A sunny 27 in Perth tomorrow, a windy 16 in Adelaide with a shower, local hail and thunder and a cold day for Melbourne, 13 the top, partly cloudy in Sydney, a possible shower for Brisbane. Clear at the moment in Hobart, 11 degrees, Launceston 11 degrees at the moment, a few showers about and 13 right now in Devonport. Joe, that's it for now. I know you've got to rush home and count up all that cash that you'll be saving from your tax cut today.
Yeah, wouldn't that be lovely? Thank you very much for that, Murph. That's all from the team. Have a great evening. Good night.